Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, November 11th, 2025. So today's episode really grinded my gears with Jennifer and Chad. The whole situation with them just grinds my gears because Jennifer is just out of line, out of pocket to really tell Chad that, okay, I'm going to take your kids and go to Boston, and there's nothing that you can do. If you try to stop me, I'm going to go to the judge and make sure that you do not have any custody over them, which is just absurd to me, right? She was even bringing up his Thomas's medical records as proof, and I'm saying, does this lady forget that she also did something really bad, like she ran over Gwen when she was high as a kite, when she had that pill addiction? Like, she feels as if she is above everything, and Chad reminds her that she's no saint either, but she claims to say that, she's no saint, but at the same time, she's not gonna put nothing over her children like what Chad does. And Chad is like, you're gonna be upset at me, fine, but really to use this against my children and for what, dating a girl for like less than 5 minutes. And I'm saying, like, this is just really unfair. Like, she is using Thomas as as bait in this whole situation, right? And she's not thinking about the fact that, separate however you feel about Chad dating Kat or whoever, right? Because he has to move on. Abigail has been dead for 5 years, and she feels as if nobody else can hold a candle to her. And sure, Chad misses her every day, but at the end of the day, he has to move on. And she shouldn't feel any type of way about that. Like, get over it, right? Get over this grief that you're doing. Go deal with it, right? But don't take the man's kids away from him, right? So, anyways, she implies that, he's taking them back to the house. Again, she's also implying that he should not stay there, right? So, because she's saying that they took him in after Abigail's death, under the condition that he was gonna always choose the kids first. But since recently now it's not happening, and you know, basically telling him that he needs to go. But a lot of people have been saying that he needed to move out and go elsewhere. He has the money, he has the resources, could have gone back to the Mayor Mansion or go somewhere else completely new with the kids and not have to deal with the judgment from the Horton people and Jennifer, right? So, anyways, moving forward, because I'm sick and tired of this woman. So, Philip and Maggie, right? So Maggie brings some paperwork, basically putting up the Caracas estate for collateral, just in case the company goes down. Philip is upset about it because, he really has faith that the company can turn around. And Maggie's saying that, look, we have to strike while iron is hot. We have to do something now because we're really on thin ice right now. So Philip is upset and he's saying, like, might as well we just sell everything. And Maggie tries to run him down, but that was really it. So Lucas is back in town and he's coming for the gala as well. And he talks to his mom Kate about the whole situation with Sammy. And back then, because Sammy's also in town for the gala, right? So he's talking about how awkward it may or may not be. He's just trying to really, like, make peace. So Sammy comes in and Sammy avoids it by any cost, and asks Kate where's her father. So she said that he hasn't been around, she should try calling him. So she needs to dial it back a bit because your son was the one who put Sammy through this traumatic situation. So anyways, Lucas asks for a minute of her time. She agrees, and he starts off with this awkward thing about, you look good, and then he asks how she's doing, and she said that she's been great, and she shows off her ring and tells him that, I'm engaged and this man has made her the happiest she's ever been. And Lucas is like, wow, well, you deserve it. Hopefully, you guys have a great future ahead. And she said, look, we'll never be best friends again, but I forgive you. I know that you're sorry, and let's just move forward. I want to move past all of this. And he really appreciates that as well. And it's great to see that Sammy has grown and she is moving past a lot of things. Let's see how that is with her and Belle, if we're going to see that, because Belle feels as if Sammy should not be angry at what she did with her ex-husband. But let's see. So EJ's been brought up to speed on his nephew's case, that he went through the accident, and Kat happened to overhear what's happening, and then she asks EJ what's going on with Thomas. So he tells her about Thomas being involved in a car accident, that he's gonna be okay, he just dislocated his shoulder. So she is blaming herself because you know earlier she was all over the place regarding her mom's health situation, and she just fell apart in Chad's arms. Jennifer and Chad were there to see it, and they thought wrongly of the situation, and then she ran off without knowing what's going on afterwards. So EJ just said, "Look, it's not your fault what happened to Thomas. It's just a big misunderstanding. Chad didn't really have to hug you as well." So, anyways, he said if anybody is to blame, it's Clyde. Clyde put us through both horrendous things. I was presumed dead at some point. So he begins to tell her of what happened in the past between him and Clyde, and that kind of gauged the memory because later on we see that Kat was there at the facility where EJ was being held, where he was going through the facial reconstructive surgery and everything. And turns out she was also there, I guess, as an assistant nurse, something, right? Or patient, not really clear of that situation, right? Now, Maggie and Julie also meet up to discuss more the Horton history, and Julie feels she gets Maggie up to speed with Thomas's accident, and it just brings back a bad memory of her and her mom and how her mom died in a car accident. So they start talking about Julie's mom, Addie, and if you guys can recall the history, Addie is also Hope's mom. So it turns out that Julie and Hope are half sisters, which is just kind of weird because she's also married to Hope's dad, which makes her stepmother. So it's kind of just weird how the history comes about. So she talks about how, her, the love of her life, Doug, right? So Doug was married to her mom, but that was after, her and Doug were an item. So I got it wrong, I guess, because I thought that, her mom and Doug were married before and then she ended up being with him, and that's how the whole situation happened, and Hope not really being close to her at first, right? But turns out that it was the other way around, and she was heartbroken because Grandma Alice told her what was going on with the marriage. So Addie got sick and she had leukemia and she was pregnant with Hope, and at her bedside, she asked Julie to look after Hope with Doug if anything happens to her. So it turns out that she went into remission, but it didn't end there. She ended up in a car accident, and that's where she saved Hope's life and ended up being the person that got injured really badly, right, and succumbed to the injuries, right. So that brought Doug and Julie close together, and that became, a long time love. So Maggie said, you guys are soulmates. And she said, we still are, and he's love, and everything else just really is what keeps me going. They talk about Maggie and Mickey, and that being, Maggie's first marriage and first love and everything, and how they met on the farmhouse and how she was in crutches. She couldn't really walk, if you guys have been watching that far along. And she ended up doing surgery just so that she could dance with Mickey. And she was always grateful to the Horton family for welcoming her into their family. And even after he died, they still, were really friendly with her. And also when she married Victor, right? So, anyways, moving forward, so Lucas is not the only ex-husband that Sammy pays a visit. Well, she didn't pay a visit to him, but encounter, right? So she went to EJ's office because EJ already knew that she was gonna be in town for the gala. So she comes in and she's like, it's such a change of events because you last time I saw you were in a coma, you're looking really good, and you're now owning the hospital and everything. So, anyways, she is there to just, say two things to him. One, she's hosting a baby shower for Johnny Chanel, but he's not invited. So, of course, that's a sore topic for EJ. And she's sorry that it went that way, She's just keeping up their wishes. She also wanted to tell him that she's engaged to Dante Vitale. So, we don't know who this Dante Vitale is, but the last name rings a bell with Ava. And EJ is like, are you, out of your mind? Because, like, he's a part of a mob boss family. And she said, he's in Italy. He's not nothing to do with the mob family in Pennsylvania. And it brings up the part about Ava's son Charlie assaulting her daughter Ali, and she said, Ava had nothing to do with it. Neither does Dante, and we moved past that. So again, he's skeptical that it would last. So she's saying, this is why you're alone and you're isolated from everybody because you keep on, with these jobs, and you keep on trying to self sabotage, and you always end up alone. And that was ringing home to him. And they talk about his relationship with Johnny, how it's estranged, and he wants to make it better. And he asks if she can put in a good word for him, and she said, no, this time you got to do it yourself. Reach out on the right terms, the right conditions with Johnny, and just work on the relationship there. I can't do it for you, right? So, again, she pleaded with him to try and do it the right way this time, and he wasn't really saying yes or no. So at this point, it's really up to him, right? So it was a really good conversation between her and EJ. That they've got this far, and she knows him inside and out. If anybody can really tell him the home truth, it's gonna be Sammy, and she's definitely been growing a lot. So back to Lucas, Kate, and Philip. Philip is there. He's happy to see his brother in town, and he's definitely stressed out. So he needs a drink, and they sit down and talk. And at some point, Kate leaves, and Lucas and Philip are talking about the company, how the company is going down under, and he's stressed out about it. Um, he's wondering like how can he turn it around. So Kate overhears what's happening with that, right? And she said, not over my dead body, like I will do what I can do to turn it around. And he said, like, why do you care about the company so much, since you and Victor are not an item no more? She said, I used to love Victor and we do share a son. He said, Vivian did the physical work of carrying me and all of that. So she's saying like, as long as I'm here, don't mention that lady after everything she's put us through. So she leaves again to get him to drink or something like that. And Lucas said, "What does Vivian do now?" So he said that Vivian was responsible for the forgery, and how I had to hide it from Xander. So Lucas asked a question like, "How come you're still breathing? Does Xander know what's going on?" So he said, "Yes." So how come you're still alive? So Philip said that it's a long story. So he was gonna tell him, but then he didn't. He backtracked. Nothing happened. So he tells Lucas to just keep it a secret and not tell mom or anybody else. So I said, okay, cool, right? So Jennifer comes home with Thomas, right? Because it seems as if she won the battle. Well, not the war, but she won the battle of bringing him home, and um, Julie and Maggie are there and they ask, how's he doing? He said he's okay. So, anyways, Julie's like, where's Chad? So Jennifer said, okay, let's talk. And then, Maggie took Thomas to the kitchen to get him something to eat. So Julie is asking, what's going on with Chad? So Jennifer said, look, like things have gotten dicey between me and him. And now I really have to make this decision. And Jack is on support of this. I need your support with this. I am suing child full custody of my grandchildren. So Julie's mouth is open, so she didn't react as yet. But I would like to know if she's gonna be on her side or really vouch for Chad being involved in the kids' life, because that would be hypocritical, because she is really fond of Chad regardless of his affiliation with Cat. And furthermore, like Jack, is he like, does he have like any balls? Because everything his wife does, even if it's immoral, or even if it's not in the right context, right? He's still in full support. Like at some point, like you gotta sit down and tell your wife, look, you're going overboard with this, because Chad is a decent person. He's a great father. He even went to EJ for legal advice, and he told EJ about the situation with him and Jennifer, and he said, look, like this is really delicate because it does involve children. It could go either way, but I would definitely represent you, but I just letting you know what can happen, right? So he does talk about being under the same roof with her, and her just being angry at him for every little thing. So he does say, when I come home to the Mayor Mansion, like you're not welcome there. So Chad considers it, right? But I'm just saying, like, he's just treated as a pariah over there, and it's just disgusting to me, honestly. Kat does see Sammy and she recognizes her from somewhere. It turns out she recognized her from the facility that EJ was held at, and she also remembers reading the same book that they have in common recently at there as well. But let me know what you guys think about today's episode. Comment below. I will see you guys tomorrow.